Hey guys, today I'm going to do a video on doing the annual maintenance on my boat, and what I'm going to do is remove the stern drive, and we're going to grease the U-joints, check the alignment of the gimbal bearing, and also it's been a little over a year since I installed this unit that I got from SEI, and within that year I've probably had this boat on the lake pretty much about every weekend, so I've used the heck out of it. And so far it's done a good job. The only issue you have, I had a little issue with some paint chips, but mechanically it's functioned great. And I've got some videos on YouTube on my channel where I install this new stern drive, and also I'll show you what happened to the old stern drive that I had on the boat. So if you're interested, you can check those out. But now we're going to go ahead and get started removing this stern drive. And so first thing I need to do is disconnect the hydraulic rams, and so we've got 5/8 nuts and 9/16. So I'm going to use my wrench, and I've got some backing wrenches. So we're going to use, this is 9/16. So we're going to just remove that first. All right, put that somewhere we'll remember where it was. Now this is the 5/8 inch bolt. I'm going to use a hammer and give these a little bit of a tap to help loosen it up. Use my rubber mallet so I don't damage the threads. Going to rotate that down out of the way, cylinder, and then we're going to pull this bolt out on this side, give it a little persuasion. All right. Now, to remove the stern drive, I need to go ahead and put the shifter in forward, and that'll align the shift mechanism so the unit will pull out. All right. Got her shifted down into forward. And now these, there's 6 bolts, they're 5/8 inch. We're just going to pull these off with my impact. I'm just gonna pull these washers off. All right, and then we're gonna go ahead and just pull this loose. All right, so I just need to lay this down off to the side for now so we can grease up those U-joints. But we're gonna see how they feel. Now U-joints, you wanna feel them, see how they feel when you move them back and forth. Now these still feel really good, looks in good shape. There's no rust on here. Now, if you've had some water intrusion, when you pull this apart, you might see that there has been some rust or some issues. Now this all looks good. Now here you can see the grease certs. This is where we're gonna need to grease it when we put it back together. And for now, I'm just gonna lay it off to the side. Here is the shifter mechanism that you can see, that shoe. Now, when you put it in the forward position, that's the position that it's gonna be in. So that allows it just to slide back and out. So for now, we're gonna lay this down and out of the way. Now, it's hot in Texas today. We've been suffering all summer with over 50 days, over 100 today, maybe that one as well. And we got cicadas there making noise in the background that you can hear. So we'll just try to get through that. Now, as we look inside here, everything looks good. Now, this rubber ring here on the outside, when you put these back together, we're going to glue that into position so it stays, and that kind of helps hold the water out of that area. And so we definitely want that to be a good seal. The bellows look good. Bearing looks good. Now we need to just check the alignment, and I think we may have some adjustments to do there, so I will get that done. Now I'm also gonna feel the bearing. Just put my fingers in there, move that back and forth with the bearing. That feels real good. There's no issues there. All right, so I got everything cleaned up. I installed a new gasket and a new O-ring. Now I used a little bit of bellows adhesive to hold this O-ring into position, and also this rubber inner sealing ring that goes right in here. I used some bellows adhesive to hold that into position. I did check the alignment by putting in my alignment tool, and then if you're able to turn it with just 2 fingers when it's fully inserted, then your alignment is good, and my alignment was still good. And then as far as my inner bearing, gimbal bearing, I did check it. It does rotate good still, so it's in good shape. Inside there's splines for the coupler, and I did go ahead and put grease in those splines. So we're ready to go there. Okay, now on the stern drive, I've got it over here on the bench, and I cleaned up my surface mating areas. I just used a razor to get that all cleaned up. And then there's also some U-joints that you have to grease. I went ahead and greased those up. Now this one's a little bit hard to get to. Sometimes you have to use a special grease fitting, like this has got a little sideways notch in it that you can put on there to grease that. And then on the inner one, I was able just to move it over drive shaft far enough so I could get the grease straight in on there. And then you want to grease U-joints until you see grease coming out all four sides of the U-joint. That way that you know you've gotten a good greasing to the entire U-joint. Sometimes you might have one that's a little bit clogged and you can just have grease come out of one. But if you grease it till you get grease coming out of all four, then you know that you've got good grease in there and it's ready to go. I also installed new O-rings. Had this O-ring was actually split and gone for some reason, but I've got new O-rings installed. So now I want to install the stern drive back on the boat, and what I want to do is make sure that I've still got it shifted into forward, and you want the little shift lever facing straight forward like this, and then on my boat I've got the shifter in the forward position, and that way it's kind of you got to get the splines lined up inside the coupler. We'll get that shoved in there, and then get our studs lined up, and then also our shifter mechanism. So we kind of got to do several things at once to get it all lined up. And then once we get our nuts and bolts on there, we want to get everything torqued down to 50 foot-pounds. So now I'm going to get this taken over to the boat and get it installed. I'm just going to check, see how how it's going. Looks like we got the spline just kind of right there on the edge of going into the coupler. We just need to get it in there. Just turning the prop a little bit to try to get the splines aligned. All right, so now it's not turning, so I know I've got the splines aligned in there. The coupler. Got everything lined up. Make sure our shifter's still going in there. All right, so we got it together. So now we need to go ahead and get our bolts on there. Our nuts on our studs. Okay. I always like to get them put on there by hand and then to get a good few turns on there to make sure that you're not cross-threading them. And then we're gonna just zip them down a little bit and then I'm gonna torque them to 50 foot-pounds. Now you want to torque them to 50 foot-pounds. All right, now I always like to run it around a couple of times when you're torquing your nuts down to make sure that you didn't miss anything. Give it a good retorque. And we've got them set at 50 foot-pounds. Now we just need to install the hydraulic rams back on to get it set up, and then we'll be good to go. So I'm going to pull this out and put a little grease on it to make it easier to put back together. Get my hand rubber mount, give it a little tappy. Tap, tappy. All right, now we just need to tighten the bolts back down. still, now we got it back together. It's still shifted in drive. I want to check to make sure that it's shifting correctly. I'm going to put it back in neutral. Okay. And it's spinning freely in neutral both directions. Now we'll put it in reverse. Make sure that it catches in reverse. Okay, so we're catching forward, reverse. So that looks good. We'll put it back into neutral. All right, so we got it all back together and got the first year maintenance done for the SEI drive, and everything looks good. Greased up the gimbal, put new gaskets on it, torqued it down. And so, like I said, I've used the heck out of this thing. I've had it for a little over a year, used it every weekend so far. It's been working great. If you want to check out some of my other videos, I can show you the video where I installed this new, and then several of the other related videos. As always, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.